We're live.
All right, we're gonna get the other guy rolling here. I think it says live here. Never really know until we see the little button turn on. Yeah, I think it says live. All righty, we are just on time to start our health shop. We're going to go over the gut-brain connection. I'm going to go first. I'm going to get a little bit more of a coaching aspect to a lot of this because this is such a great topic I really like. And it's so important to look at it more of in my perspective, is more of the emotional side of things. And then Dr. Mark's going to go next and kind of take more of the nutritional side. And Chip's going to go last to finish it off with more of the physical and how he sees health from his perspective as well. So me going first, I mean, I know you've seen me or heard me talking about this before, but I'm going to go over how the brain is wired as well as it relates to the gut connection. And I always go back to this autonomic nervous system because it's so important to get the fundamental idea as it relates to how the body relates to a lot of the brain as well as the emotions and everything. Because we have two different systems. It's the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. And the sympathetic nervous system goes down the lines as it gets the body ready to go for more stressful situations. So it flashes a flood of hormones that boosts the body's alertness, heart rate, and sending blood all the way throughout the muscles. So it's going to increase your heart rate, your respiration, your blood pressure, your sweating. It's going to dilate those pupils in there, but it's more for the fight and flight. So it's going to decrease the moving of the food or anything getting digested in your large intestines. Now the flip of the coin of that is the parasympathetic nervous system. And this is going down the lines of more of the rest and digest. This is the state that we want to be in as it relates to maximizing the gut and brain connection. So it's more of the relaxing. And it's actually great for actually repairing the body. Now, if we're in a sympathetic nervous system, sympathetic state, we can find ourselves in this very fearful kind of flight state, and it's hard for the body to repair itself. So we try to get ourselves in this parasympathetic state so we can have ourselves in the most optimal state to digest, repair, anything down those lines. So it's really undoing the actual work that's done with the sympathetic, which is not a bad thing. I mean, we would like to have stress in the body, so it's more of a tearing down of muscles so we can rebuild those muscles back up and getting more in this parasympathetic state to do that. So it's the opposite. So it's going to decrease the heart rate, respiration, blood pressure, and it's going to increase that digestion and assimilation of the food to be going more throughout the body. Now, it's stated that 70% of the day we are in this sympathetic state. And it's not a good thing or bad thing. Many people are waking up to the idea that we can focus more on this parasympathetic state so we can find ourselves being more relaxful. We can repair the body much, much better. And when we're looking at the sympathetic state, I can tell you just right now saying, well, you need to be in a parasympathetic state. Well, it's actually fairly simple, but it's not easy. And this is the way that I like looking at a lot of things as it relates to more of the emotions, but also how the brain works the way that we see it in our research. And it's this big thing called neuroplasticity. Now, neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to form and reorganize the connections in response to the learning experience. Well, what does that actually mean? And I want to give it to you more in a practical sense here. So what it really comes down to is that these nerve cells, that they try to fire together and they wire together. And I'll show you a little bit in this behind picture here. You can kind of see these little black dots. But let's just say, for instance, if I'm trying to learn how to present, public speak or anything down those lines, that it could be something that is uncomfortable in that situation. Well, then I'm going to try to create more of these nerve connections to allow myself to be better at being more public speaking. So I'm going to try to practice the uncomfortable to reach past that part of myself to make sure I can get much better at public speaking. So let's just say I start out and I, do a little bit of public speaking and I get better and better at it. So my nerve fiber, my nerve cells are actually wiring more and more together. So the more I practice this, the better I'm going to be at it, and it's going to constantly wire more and more cells. So then this will actually be much, much easier to public speak. I won't be at that beginner stage anymore. I'd be more in maybe the intermediate, however way you want to look at public speaking, but But if I can continuously get better at it, I will start wiring and firing much more. And you can see the personality of someone starting out public speaking as a very nervous type of person, but they start working at it better and better, and now they're much, much better at public speaking. Now you can do this in any other way. It doesn't have to be public speaking. It can be learning how to write your name. It could be how to handle a stressful situation, or it can be something down the lines of when we're eating our own food, how do we have it wired in our brain that when we're in the state of eating food, are we still in that sympathetic state, or are we in that parasympathetic state that allows us to digest and assimilate the food? So when I look at neuroplasticity, I kind of look at it in the standpoint of more of the emotional perspective, but we can kind of state it that how our brain is wired could essentially be how our own personality is. Now, I want to go back to the point that when I first started public speaking back in the day, I had myself a victim mindset. When I had this victim mindset, I made a bunch of excuses, like the light was too shiny, or my palms were sweaty, knees are weak, and arms are heavy, and all these kind of things. All these different excuses that I can get, but I was worried about what was going to happen. Was people going to make fun of me? Were they going to judge me for who I was? So I put myself in more of this sympathetic state, this survival state, and it made me fearful all the time when I didn't have these nerve fibers wiring together. So if you can look at it from an emotional perspective, it would make me unhealthy. I would have anxiety. I would have depression for not doing so good to impress other people and that kind of thing. Well, that's one mindset of looking at it. But if I find myself looking at it from an opposite perspective, you can see I had more of a victor mindset. Now it's kind of the opposite. We're looking at this. Let's just say if I'm continuously working on myself, it could be from a public speaking mindset. It could be from being more in a relaxed state when I'm eating. It doesn't matter. We're looking at, let's just say, when I get all these fibers wired together, or from any situation, I can be more motivated. I can be more confident, but yet calm in a sense that I can be this personality. I can have this mindset to being more in that more relaxed state, parasympathetic, restful. I can do it in any situation that life gives me, and I can be more fearless. There's no point to being fearless. Fearless is simply only a mindset that we really kind of look through. But at the end of things, if I get more of that victor mindset, I can be able to handle any situation by the fact that my brain is wired differently, in a sense that I'm more confident in myself, I'm more fearless, I'm more motivated. That would make me more healthy in a lot of different situations. And so that is, got one question for you, I suppose. And the big thing that I have from working from back in the day, from the past, compared to who I am as of right now, I have a question for you. Do you want to be perfectly healthy? Now, the big thing is, it goes back to, it's so simple to be healthy, but not easy. It's not easy by the fact that we might have to rewire things. We might have to change a little bit of the things for us to be in that healthy situation. And from my personal experience, it all came down to me. And the same thing goes for you. You are the only person standing in your way from being this unhealthy person, from you being more of this healthy person. So when I say this is kind of the basis of my coaching. So if you want to have a little bit more coaching, more understanding how the body works as it relates to the brains or the body or their minds, and how it relates to the heart, I'll be more than happy to give you anything that I know, my personal experience when it comes to that lines. So that is what I got for my part. Dr. Mark will go up next. He's also going to talk about the gut-brain connection as it relates to nutrition. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Coach Ed. I'm going to tag on to that right away. When we do our nutrition response testing for patients, we talk to them about doing a 12-visit program that puts them out about 120, 200 days, somewhere in there. And that's what it takes to get a new habit started. So we're wanting to change from old habits to new habits. So it goes right along with what Coach Eddie was talking about there. So I'm going to stay with the gut-brain connection, because this is really good stuff. There's so much goes on with this, And it's so important for people to understand that this is a big connection with what you eat can affect how your emotions are, how your thinking is. So to look at the gut itself, just a quick little picture here. Again, when we have problems with the gut, it can come from all kinds of issues like toxins, microorganisms, yeast, gluten, lectins. Those things are inflammatory causing, and when the gut gets irritated, it has these little micro holes that allow these bugs or whatever it is to get into the bloodstream, and then that can affect where the blood's going to. So normally the brain, of course, is in the bloodstream path, so it can be affected, and so that's what we call leaky gut. That's a real common thing that we have. We notice when we're talking about the brain-gut connection, and I think that kind of gives you a pretty good idea. There it's pretty simplified, but a pretty good idea of the causes of what can happen in the gut. And of course, it's much more complex than that, but this is a general idea. So if we go to the gut and psychological syndrome, the GAPS information, Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride, she had a child with autism, and that's after lots of research decided or kind of discovered that the problems that her child was having was gut related, and that was causing these autism symptoms. So she basically developed a program that helps get that gut to improve. Looks at the importance of your gut flora and its influence over your health. Cannot be overstated. It's truly profound, and that's very true. Again, people that are eating things that destroy the gut flora. I have a lot of people that have been on antibiotics for a long time. That just destroys the gut flora. It kills all the blood. It kills all the bacteria, not even the bad, but the good too. So then we have yeast overgrowth and all kind of problems from that. So and then we're finding a lot of problems with the hyperinfections or the superinfections caused by overuse of antibiotics, and then these microorganisms get to the point where the body can't control them. A lot of problems with that's the SIBO, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so your gut literally serves as your second brain, and it even produces more of the neurotransmitter serotonin, known to have a beneficial influence on your mood than your brain does. So the gut is so important. Gut health is so important. What do we do to it 3 times a day? Are you doing the right things for your gut? Are you doing the wrong things? Are you eating a lot of processed junk food? Are you actually eating real food? And the other challenge too is your gut already too far out of kilter to actually be able to get well by itself? The challenge is to identify strategies to optimize that bacterial population so that you can live in a beneficial symbiotic relationship where they nourish you, help you fight disease, and optimize your health. So the bacteria, if they're working correctly, actually help with digestion and absorbing certain vitamins and minerals, and actually help with health. That has to be the good ones, not the bad ones. So there's ones the body has to work with. Now, the interesting thing that's really overlooked is the pH. And so we have a lot of problems with that with patients because nobody understands that, especially after age 35 to 40, you start losing the ability to produce stomach acid, and so your pH starts to change. If you don't correct that, then you can develop a more basic or alkaline digestive system, which allows for more of the bad bacteria and the yeast overgrowth. So we always work at getting the body more acidic. That's how vitamin C and ascorbic acid, take a lot of that. That's how that works, by acidifying the bowel. Apple cider vinegar, another one. Cranberry juice for yeast infections, another part of that. And then just eating, what we have patients do is just eat good quality sea salt or mineral salt. Really helps to change the pH of the body. So more information there. Again, the cells of the digestive system are specialized, but they do change very quickly, in 2 or 3 days. So it's an easy, again, what Dr. Eddie or Coach Eddie was talking about with it's easy but hard to do, whatever that saying was. So that it just takes time, but it's something that the body can do, but you have to treat it right for a while. And that's what the GAPS nutritional protocol is really about. I think on the next slide. So again, you just realize that it's the cells are damaged, and you have to heal that up to get the micro holes to seal up, get the body working good again. The body needs the building blocks to do that because they're made out of certain nutrients, and there's a good protocol for that. So the main foods that we're using here are homemade meat stock and homemade bone broth. That's the main soups that we're using to help heal the tissue. Now, I find that protocol is needed for some of my more tougher patients. Many people don't even need to go this far. If we can get them on a decent diet, get them off all the junk food and things like that, and again, add a little bit of the digestive support, they don't really have to even go this far. But this is a great protocol for people that have really tough problems and have had gut problems for years and decades. And that's fairly common too. Constipation, all those kind of problems lead to a broken digestive system, a ruined gut lining. And that's where gluten becomes a real problem. It goes along with other things, but gluten can be the cause, but it's the sugar can be the cause. And even bad oils, there's all kind of reasons which you have to get out of the diet, get the body working better to do that. We're cooking all the vegetables, making it easy for digestion to work, and then of course we have nutritional supplements we use to help do that too. Homemade fermented yogurt and whey, fermented vegetables. Again, the fermentation process helps to breed these good bacteria that the body uses to seed the gut, and then we have supplements for that as well. Raw egg yolks too, really good for that purpose. So, and here's her book, Dr. McBride's book, The Gut and Psychological Syndrome. You can get it at that website. It's all around, so it's a bestseller. It's been around for a long time, but it's a really good book. There's even a cookbook and things that come with it. But the other thing we do in our office is support all the other systems that go along with the gut. So, of course, in this book, she's looking at just the gut and the gut-brain connection, but there's many other systems you have to get under control too. For instance, if you have fillings in your teeth, you have mercury that's getting into the body, getting into the nervous system, and will screw up the nerves that Coach Eddie just talked about there. So you have to be able to detox that. That's what we do in our office, is work on all the other things too, along with this nutritional and dietary support. So I think that's enough for me tonight. Dr. Chip has some more exciting information, so I'm going to turn it over to him. Very good.
All right. Well, there was plenty said there, so I'll try to do my best to kind of wrap it up here and kind of get a little more connection going on here. So I was going to talk about more of the nervous systems, and again, how it pertains to the gut and brain connection. And so again, the nervous systems being the central nervous system, our brain and our spinal cord itself. The peripheral nervous system is the cranial nerves, so the nerves that run from the brain through the rest of the body. The vagus nerve, again, being especially important because this nerve travels from the brain to all of the glands of the body. I don't know about the adrenals, but I'm not sure. There's a lot more little science to that. But again, it's it connects a lot to the different systems of the body via the brain. So again, that's why it's very important, and that we can actually regulate ourselves based on foods we eat, different breathing styles, and etc. And also, the peripheral nervous system is about the nerves outside the brain and the spine, again, around the body. So again, the nerves that are kind of in the legs, the arms, the chest, everything like that. And again, the last one here is the enteric, or the gut. Again, our gut has a brain of its own. And again, that's kind of more considering the digestive organs themselves. So that's why it is important that not only does the central nervous system, our brain, influence the rest of them here, but our gut can influence them the other way here too. And we'll kind of keep going here. And so again, these are kind of nice pictures to see this little illustration. But again, this is why that they say everything's connected in the body, that your big toe is connected to the ear and whatnot and all that. And it's true that we're all very well connected, and our bodies are very well connected in the systems in it. And so again, you could say is that what we think during the day influences how our gut feels throughout the day too. Or you could say is that how what we eat throughout the day affects how our brains are thinking. And again, the peripheral nervous system, again, kind of more of that connection to both of them. So the peripheral nerves or the vagus nerve is that connection from our brain to our gut or vice versa. And so again, that's why it's very important to know what thoughts are that we're thinking throughout the day and what foods we eat throughout the day. Again, so the effects of stress on the brain and gut, you can kind of say is that we have two different energy systems, or more of how we use the energy that we have in our body. And so again, like Eddie, Coach Eddie said, and Dr. Mark might have said it too, but our sympathetic nervous system is more of our fight or flight system. It's one that when we need energy to fight or flee or run or freeze or anything like that, we need the energy to our big muscles of the body. So again, our arms, legs, things that we can move. And why that's important is that it helped us survive in those times of stress or when we had predators or anything like that throughout our lifetime. Now, when we need energy to the digestive organs, more of the core of our body, that's when we need to be in more of that parasympathetic, relaxed state, a rest and digest state. And so again, these are more just stating different forms or different variations of what our nervous system can kind of go back and forth with. So again, we need to be able to practice this one as much as we practice this one. And like Coach Eddie said too, is that we're more stuck in this one throughout the day. But when we realize how we can think, what foods we eat, we can start to balance more of these systems, which again helps provide more of a healthy, natural state of our being. So I kind of want to wrap it up too, just some little side notes. The gut and the immune connection, kind of like what Dr. Mark explained about the GAPS diet, and that author was big with the immune system too. John Hopkins medicine, it's kind of explaining more is that our gut has a lot of influence on the immune system. And again, why that's important is that, we have the virus out there, what have you, and that, again, when we're eating good foods, when we're thinking well, that can influence our immune system. And that's why I put it up here. Again, this quote says, a huge proportion of your immune system is actually in your GI tract. Again, your gut, says Dan Peterson. And so again, that is why it's so important that we want to make sure that we are well maintaining our gut and brain connection. Just another little more notes here is that increased nervous system stress causes decreased nerve and blood flow to the gut and the immune system. And so again, when we're very well stressed up here, we're very well stressed down here. And then again, vice versa. And so again, when we have that anxiety, that kind of nervousness, like Coach Eddie explained, kind of more when we're giving a big talk or anything like that, that you can feel that. You can feel it in your gut. And that plays a big role on how you're thinking. So if you have that, that gut feeling of, oh, I can't do this, oh, I shouldn't, there's no way that I can perform on the stage here, then we start getting scared and worried and anxious over here. And so it's again that vice versa there too. And so even when we're thinking about all the things that we can or can't do, if it's too overwhelming here, then again that starts to be very overwhelming for our gut. And again, so more vulnerable to gut and immune related issues, chronic illness, acute infection. And again, that's just in general, if we're not able to adapt to stress, then we can have really big influences on our brain and our gut. Again, that's why, because they're very well connected. And so again, help yourself. What can you do? Again, eating good foods, drinking good amounts of clean water, breathing. Again, very important. I think we just don't realize that we need to breathe throughout the day. Sunlight, that's a very big one there too, is that again, I think everybody in general feels a lot better when they're actually exposed to some good sunlight. And again, you're going to start noticing, feeling just better throughout the day when we have these spring, summer days here. And then activity. Again, It's always good to move your body, to get outside, to do things like that. And that not only helps us to think better, but it actually helps us to feel better. And again, we're able to digest foods better and whatnot. So I think that is it for me. You can always follow us or find more information about us at Natural Health Quincy IL. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Parler, Brighteon, and YouTube. You can subscribe to our email list, of course. We're located at 2000 Jefferson Street in Quincy, Illinois, and the number is 217-228-2040. Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned a lot. Thanks.